Like an insect from Shagai, your main man burrows into your brain with sinister intent. Now, today I'm going to be talking about player co-ops. That's right, two very distinct, different aspects that we see coming in from different RPG lines. Co-op storytelling and co-op narrative. These are two co-ops that are engaged in by players via the game. If you look at Mutants and Masterminds, Game of Thrones, these games are good examples of co-op storytelling, where a player can spend a certain point off their character sheet and then they can create something. Oh, I'm going to use a point on my character sheet and now there's a door here suddenly. I'm going to use this hero point and I'm going to stop Game Master Fiat. I'm going to prevent this from happening or that from happening. I'm going to collectively share in the storytelling. Now, let me talk about this first. This is something I do not like at all. It's something I will immediately erase from any game that I'm playing. I have no enjoyment or tolerance from it. I think it is a bad turn in games. I don't think that the majority of game masters are going to produce a better game because of this. What you're going to allow is sort of almost a rules lawyery sort of approach and aspect, and I've seen players pull it off in that sort of way. Haha, you can't do anything because the rules of the game are allowing me, are protecting me, are allowing me to do this. Yes, sure, there's some players that are going to take that and they might add some creativity into a thing where you have a game master who just plain and simple isn't cutting it. There are other ways to handle that, though. If you're a player, I do not need, nor do I want your help storytelling. That is my job as a storyteller. So let me come back to that in a minute, though, because I want to talk about co-op narrative. Now, co-op narrative is something that I adore. I love co-op narrative. It is a big part of Within the Ring of Fire to the structure of how the game is told. Co-op narrative, and this might seem a little tricky to some people at first, because you're saying, oh, well, you don't like co-op storytelling. Isn't co-op narrative the same thing? No. Co-op storytelling, what we're talking about is the player being able to directly influence beyond the scope of what they otherwise can. Co-op narrative, you are simply saying, okay, well, you have done X, Y, or Z. You have killed this NPC. You have been injured in combat. Describe it and give a vivid, fluffy description. Take your time, engage the senses. As a player, give that same sort of description that as a game master, I am going to give you. We're going to talk about everything that's there, engage the five senses, and bring in other aspects. You know, how the moon looks, the wind, and you should already be able to draw upon those because I've given you a base outline for that material over and over again throughout. Don't say, oh, well, the moon's shining down. It's like, dude, it's noon. We just explained that. That's a problem. Now you're starting to slip into storytelling narrative. You respect the construct that the storyteller has created for you, and you produce off that. You remember that. You utilize that, and then you describe how you've defeated the orc, how you pick him up and you press slam your now you drop the elbow right on the throat, you crush his esophagus, he's sitting there as he dies in agony. You put the boots on him, you drop the iron shod boots right to his rib cage, breaking the ribs, and you know the blood comes out, blood's seeping out of his mouth. You bring all those sort of details in there. That's really a quick sort of description, you know, or describe how it feels when that Minotaur brings his giant two-handed mace square against your sternum, cracking it, crushing it, how you're wheezing and hissing for breath, how he brings the butt of it up, catching you in the jaw, knocking your teeth from your mouth, cutting into your lip, or smashes against your head. And you describe the way that you can no longer hear so well. There's various sound occurring around you, and you're not able to focus. You're confused. You're falling to knees. Your equilibrium has been distorted, shot, and in other ways. When you bring that in, that sort of narrative description can add tremendously to the game, and it can save a lot of energy on the game master's part. Plus, it gives you a chance to spotlight yourself. And we're not talking about rolling 8 points. Oh, you took 8. Okay, the next turn. No. We're going to use that time. We're going to enjoy it. We're going to make the most of that time as a role-playing experience. Now, that's just an example in combat, because combat is often very easy to explain a nexus point of role-playing and mechanics. So too often combat becomes simple mechanics in too many games, and this is why players do not enjoy combat. Players don't enjoy mechanical combat. Well, players want to have description, in outside of the absolute most bland people that, in all honesty, ought to be playing war games and not role playing games at all. That player wants to imagine in their mind the cool, badass thing they just did to that goblin. They don't want to just go, "Oh, you killed him. We'll just go on it." No, no, no. Let's talk about how we took that glaive and sliced that jugular open, how the blood poured down like wine from his neck, and how we have that sort of scene, that incredible extreme violence. Players like that because that definitely contributes into their cool factor and to the brutal brutality of combat. But you could also use these things in a large number of other scenes. Say you make your roll on your Mason check, and you've described how you spent the last 9 days working on this statue. So, and you roll really well. You're like, oh, that's a really good roll. So as a player, you go, okay, well, I did this and this, and it looks like this, and you start going into the description of how you detailed into the angularity of the statue's face, and how you've made the statue a woman, and she's naked, but she kind of has like a little bit of sheer clothing draped over the front of her, and you can describe the features, the eyes, the almost lifelike aspect as they seem to almost follow you around the room at times when you're looking at them because they've done such an incredible job. Or they go into describing how they've done something likewise when they've made a painting, or explaining the new piece of music that they've written as their song smithing character. You can explain it. Doesn't mean you need to write out a complex list of lyrics. Well, you can. I've had players do that many a time. Write out poetry, write out letters to other characters that say aren't there. Maybe they're writing letters to one of their dead parents or something, gassing them in the fire, or they're caught up, in that moment of describing their songs. Like, okay, here's the title. Here's what the song is about. Here's what sort of instruments I'm using to play the song. Those aren't hard details. You can say, okay, well, we have a lute and a mandolin and a lyre and a bit of a percussion instrument in there, and the song's titled this. It's about this. It's inspiring, and when you bring those kind of details in, your songwriting character, all of a sudden, the other players might pay a little bit of attention. So saying, "Hey, I just did a song. Oh, I rolled a 19. That was a good song." You're like, "Shut up. Let's go back and kill that imaginary goblins." No, no, no. Let's engage it. Let's just go with it. And that in that realm is another aspect of the player narrative, and that works very well. It's very different though than co-op storytelling when all of a sudden you've used a point and now you've made a trapdoor there. It's like, well, there wasn't a trapdoor there. There just wasn't. Oh, well, now we have no, there wasn't a trapdoor there. You can't just make something there. It doesn't make any sense to me. That is damaging to my feeling of immersion. What is there, not just whatever conveniently happens to be there that you want. To me, it feels like playing inside a cartoon. Now, if you were running like a game of Toon or Twerps or something, I suppose that I could uh, think a mechanic like that might work there. I don't think it works in something like Game of Thrones. To me, that is disrupting to my immersion. It's like, what? No, there's not something like that there. What are you talking about? It's just like, well, I'm gonna do all this shit and then just go to get away anyway. It's like, oh, that stinks like butt. And Mutants and Mastermind, all through the rule set, there was a ton of problems when I run. I was like, told the players, you're not doing this stuff, and they knew, they're not gonna, that it just messes the game up. Quite honestly, it's not something that I find in any way helps to increase immersion. It kind of makes players feel maybe a little too safe, I think, when they are able to just throw down the ability to escape at any time, to make a certain numbers of bolted on additions. And quite honestly, that's a preview of the Game Master. Now you can all say, oh, well, what if you have a game like this where everyone's contributing to the Game Master or something? Well, that's all fine. But when you have a game, when you have a Dungeon Master, a Game Master, a Flame Tender, a Storyteller, call them what you will, a Keeper, you need to keep your damn hands off that game and respect my authority. It's very important. So it's something that I kind of like to hear you guys' thoughts and comments here, what you feel about the co-op storytelling, the co-op narrative, if you like them. Do you like players to have narrative influence in your game at all? Do you not like that? Does that bothersome to you? Or is that something you're like, oh man, I didn't think about that. That'd be great. Or do you, and for those of you who don't really understand how to do that, I tell you, when in the Ring of Fire comes out, you're going to be enjoying that, because step by step, we explain how to do that. It's integrated into the combat system is integrated into the game experience in a way unlike any role-playing game that's previously been produced. But I'd also like to hear about the co-op storytelling, what you guys feel about this. I know that Trick Work Mark Sam Wise, he might have some wise ass comments to put upon this. So we'll have to see about that. Feel free to hit it up with the video responses. I think some of these topics are a little difficult. And remember, man, you guys can always leave like 30 comments if you want. I don't get offended like, oh God, I can't believe you left 2 comments about it. People are like, well, apologize. Oh, don't apologize. That's all right. That's all right, brother. I'm gonna put down the comments right now. So let's hear about it. Let's hear your thoughts. Cooperative storytelling, cooperative narratives. Feel free to hit up the video responses. In addition, Tim had put this in one of his videos before about the players contributing. I like players to contribute. I have one person like for rules. Be like, okay, we're going to play this game. There's things that the rules come down in 2 ways for me. We'll do it this way because that's how I'm going to do it. Or we'll just go with what the rules are. So I have I don't look up rules in a game, period. I will not do that. And I strongly suggest, I used to do that. And there is nothing more frustrating or game master energy burning. Just take one of your players. Just somebody you trust that you know isn't going to try to cheat it up, and that they need to know the rules, and you just say, okay, you look it up, you find it. Okay, I'll put that off to the side. Let me handle this. And by the time they come back, then we'll roll with what they want to do. We'll have that rule resolved, and that works well. Also, have players always keep initiative. I will not keep initiative. I won't do it. You know, and it's this. I say, well, if you guys won't keep initiative, you're not going to play. Oh, well, okay, we'll do it. Yeah. So they'll do it. You gotta remember, as a game master, you have the power because after all, there is no game without you.